The other question I asked is why now? I mean, we've been doing analytics, probably many of us have been doing analytics for years and doing analysis. But why at this point? And I think there's a turning point. Oops, this didn't turn out right. But one reason why now is because our supply chains are getting increasingly more complex. And I just listed off the top of my head, why are all our supply chains getting more complex? There's product proliferation. We do have force majeure. We do have to deal with marketing and promotions and the uncertainty of product obsolescence. All these reasons. There's many, many reasons why our supply chains are being more complex. And then, of course, the other one is we're going global. Everything is global. It just makes things more complicated. The other thing that really, I think, changed, I don't know how many of you watched Jeopardy and Watson. There's this guy, if you've seen this guy, Ken Jennings. He's he's amazing. Yeah. But Watson stomped him. And you can imagine what that computer had to do. That computer was not given the questions in advance. That computer had to do speech recognition, and then find the answer as quickly as possible, faster than Ken Jennings, and it did. And we're looking, when I was at Bell Labs, we're looking at technologies to bring that kind of power to your cell phone. So you could just, it's like Siri or something, it's a better version of Siri. Basically, you'll just talk into the phone and ask any question and be able to launch an answer. And they're using, IBM now had contracts with various companies, especially the medical industry, to put all the medical information in there so that you can actually just, a doctor will have the resources of all the information coming out of a computer. But this was a change to me. When I saw this capability, that a computer can do this, it means that they can do data processing extremely in real time, in a huge quantity. Also, I think it's data availability. Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, I was looking at a picture of, when we had medical, back in probably the medieval ages. Yeah, you basically, someone gets sick, you just bleed them, No instrumentation, nothing. But if you look into that in our hospitals, you're just filled with all these appliances, defibrillators, insulin, all these devices that eventually probably will be connected to, a mobile network. We just have so many more sources of that information. So, and of course the next generation is what I call machine to machine. So I asked the person, so a lot of the interactions between a human and machine currently. I asked a person, well, he actually said, I'm going to take my life and I'm going to put all my life into a computer. And he created about 69 gigabytes of information. Which is a lot. It's a lot of information. The point is that a human can only generate 69 gigabytes. There's an upper limit. There's an upper limit to how much we can communicate. The next level is machine to machine, when machines start communicating between themselves and making decisions. We're now looking at what they call the connected car. A lot of companies are putting this where you basically have a car that's connected to the mobile web. I mean, you can have, basically a web in your car, looking at movies and other things like that. But also, they're looking at, let's say, distances between cars so that you don't crash. And being able to see each other so that they have an ability to navigate around themselves. And these are changes in our environment. So the ability to do machine to machine, and I think it's significant. I mean, I just listed a couple of things about machine to machine that I think are going to change supply chain. I don't know, I mean, I've seen more Fitbits around. Have you ever seen them, the things that are worn on your wrist?
No, what are they?
What?
I know what a Fitbit is.
Yeah, basically it's like...
You measure your activity in your sleep.
Yeah, you can see your heart rate. Yeah, he's got it.
Yeah, I mean, it basically
connects to the web and it also connects to your computer, but it's tracking your steps, your calories, your energy expenditure, and you can track that, you know, against a goal or against a set of peers or whatever it is when you upload your data. It can track you sleeping if you know, are into that, you know, the quality of your REM sleep. But basically, you know, for example, if you want to track the number of steps and your objective is to do 10,000 steps, I mean, you can see how many steps you do in a day and, you know, you can track that. So.
Yeah. It's amazing.
And looking at him, you can say that it works.
That's why we know.
But they're not machine logical.
I want to know what your reason was for getting one.
Why did you get one?
It's the electronic equivalent of putting a string around your finger. Because if you want to have a certain amount of energy expenditure during the day for weight management or whatever it is, it's telling you that, okay, you're halfway to your goal, or, you know, you met your goal, you know, based on you know, whatever objectives that you have. Mine are to do 10,000 steps in a day. You know, it's a stretch, to be honest, but, you know, that's what you're trying to reach for, and that equates to X number of calories or miles or whatever else.
You know, I've heard actually companies buying Fitbits for their entire group, and then you can see online your entire group's Fitbits.
That's the reason you don't get it.
Yeah.
Whole group watches.
But the idea is that technology now applied to business, that we can start monitoring, remote monitoring of like anything, whether it's a carrier, you know, tractor trailer, anything. We can just monitor and just bring it over the network and be able to capture that. But that's tons of data, And then, I mean, the aging of the population. Most people don't want to be sitting in a hospital, and as they age, they want to be at home. So they're going to start putting lots of these sensors inside the home to monitor whether their heart is beating, whether they're taking their medicine. All these things are going to be remote monitored. And then if you hear about smart energy, the ability to control people's usage of energy. I heard the best one was, I think it was in California, where they had, so they were they put, you know, these devices inside on top of their like electric meters and other meters in their home to monitor their gas usage, electricity usage. And it was having, and you can see it on the web and that kind of stuff. And it really was not doing as much as they thought it would do until they put on your neighbor's usage of energy. And then all of a sudden the energy usage went down. So it's the ability to mine and process that information and present the information in the right way.
Make them accountable.
Yes.
So Ben, sounds as though a lot of company and also it's impersonal monitoring data and moving into company business, community, social network, etc. I mean, there's a lot of data going into all these different venues. And is that one of the reasons why data analytics is pretty hard today?
Yes.
Because there's a demand for a lot of people to really understand all these data coming in.
Yes. When you look at the amount of data that's being accumulated,
yeah, I mean, huge.
and then the processing of it,
yeah,
who's going to do it? It's going to be these data scientists that have the skills, the analytical skills,
yep,
the computer skills to get that information, and whatever the field is, supply chain.
Eventually, the machine-to-machine is going to do it, but meantime, you know, you still need the human writing algorithms and all those things, yes, to process these all new data that you compete against your neighbor, your colleagues, or whatever.
Right.
That's very interesting.
Yes.
You know, that's where it's going.
That is where it's going. Certain companies like Capital One, they're probably the best at doing data mining and tracking.
Especially with social network, there's a lot of data out there in social network.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's huge.
I mean, we're accumulating, I mean, there are companies that are accumulating 10 million tweets per second.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes.
What is Capital One doing exactly?
Oh, you heard Capital One? Okay. No, Capital One.
Great customer service.
Yes. Capital One is known to be one of the best at doing data analytics mining the information, and it really improves customer experience. They are one of the best.
And they have great commercials.
Yeah, like
What's in your wallet?
Facebook as a data collection system where they profile all the users. They just put out these surveys, like if you're Kramer, or they ask you all these questions, and they're profiling you.
Yeah. So it's ubiquitous. Everybody's trying to do this, whether you're in supply chain or not.
The biggest news of the day is Facebook is acquiring WhatsApp for $19 billion.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
Yes. Yeah, right. They're worth money. The company doesn't make any money, right? But they have customers. More customers. Yeah.
And Google has up on it.
Yeah, Google does that, right. I just wanted to list, this is interesting too, so sort of a historical perspective. I mean, think about it. I mean, I remember the 80s. Data was not available. I mean, we didn't have it on the network.
What's the name?
Yeah, and then a few companies. Now, this was compiled data by Laura Saucier. Laura Saucier was the person who was the head of like AMR. She was doing like the 25 best supply chains and coming up with a list. I mean, recently she had actually a falling out with AMR, saying that it tends to side consumer products companies, and she actually was coming up with new metrics. But she's been following companies for years. And she said, if you look at the data, these groups of, so you go from first, second, third, fourth generation, those that have adopted sort of like the social networking and the data, and look at their revenue per employee, they're going up. So those companies that can embrace the technologies and do the data mining are getting better. And by the way, BASF was included. Yeah. So there's something about this, and it can make the company much better.